What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we're jumping in with the Destiny 2 video, and we're going to talk about how Destiny 2 will change over the next year. And so, that includes some of the seasonal content that we're going to see before the final shape, as well as some of the key changes that Bungie have outlined, like updates to subclasses, new content for PvP, core playlists and new features, but also, we're going to talk about new exotics and weapons that we'll get access to, as well as new weapon archetypes, significant changes to how power works in the game, as well as new destinations, activity content like raids and dungeons, and the new episodic cadence that Bungie have outlined for storytelling beyond the final shape. And the goal is to outline the biggest changes that we're going to see to the game, and Bungie's approach to delivering content moving forward. So, quite a lot of stuff to talk about in this one. As always, I hope you guys enjoy it, and if you do, be sure to get subscribed for more Destiny content. And without further delay, let's get into it. And so right now, of course, we're in Season of the Witch, so we're sort of bang in the middle of the Lightfall year, and the next set of core changes that we're going to see will arrive with Season 23. And so firstly, Stasis is going to get some changes next season, and Bungie have said for Season 23, not only will the seasonal artifact feature Stasis perks, but they're also focusing on some Stasis ability changes, including those for Glacial Quake, Frost Pulse, Winter's Shroud, Glacier Grenades, and more. So for players who've been waiting for updates to Stasis, we are finally going to get them next season, and Bungie have said they'll have an artifact and ability preview later on in Season 22. So that's something to look forward to there. And up next, Bungie talk a little bit about PvP updates. And on top of sandbox tuning and stuff that we can expect to see in the near future, in Season 23 we will see the return of the Citadel map on the Dreaming City. And on top of that, Bungie have said they'll be looking at existing maps and quality of life for them. But additionally for Season 23, we're going to see a new Iron Banner mode, and Bungie have revealed that this is called Tribute, a supremacy-based mode where players will be able to deposit crests at tribute stations to earn points for their team, and they've said that banking many crests at once can trigger a hunt phase, which activates a special tribute station and increases the value of all crests deposited for 1 minute of glorious gameplay. Plus they hinted that Guardians won't be the only things guarding the high-value tribute stations, and that Kaito will be watching, so potentially there'll be Cabal on the field. And it sounds like it'll be an interesting mode, kind of a mix between something like Gambit, where other players have the potential to steal your moats, and the classic Supremacy variant, so let us know if you're looking forward to trying that one out. On top of that though, for Season 23 rewards, they do say there'll be a brand new Hake Aggressive Frame Strand Pulse Rifle coming, and that'll be a competitive division reward in Season 23. So there will be some bits of new content for next season, but PvP players should keep in mind that we will be seeing a new PvP map pack sometime in 2024. Joe Blackburn confirmed that this will be free for all players, but they'd also said on top of that they'll be working on new modes for the Crucible, so hopefully as far as PvP is concerned, it will be an improving picture over the next year, and let us know what you're hoping to see down in the comment section. Season 23 will also see additional ritual updates, including some for the Vanguard. And so firstly, for Season 23, they'll be introducing some new medals, and these will be curated alongside things like surges and modifiers over the course of the season. Plus Bungie have said in Season 23 they'll introduce additional nightfalls in the form of battlegrounds to keep players on their toes before the final shape launches. But one of the big things we'll additionally see next season is the introduction of Fireteam Finder, so LFG will finally make its way into the game, and from some of the UI for that feature right here, we can see there'll be options to search or create for fire teams, and LFG listings will be able to focus on campaign, Crucible, dungeon and raid content, but also Gambit, seasonal activities, Vanguard, and other activity options as well. And within those categories, we'll be able to select specifics, such as certain raids, and even apply tags to those activities, indicating whether players are willing to teach, options such as chatting using Discord, but other things such as clan recruiting, requests for experienced fire teams, and then accessibility-focused options like hard of hearing or deaf, colorblind, and so on. So it should be a fairly in-depth system, and of course, Fireteam Finder will arrive ahead of the final shape. So it's going to be a useful tool to have for some of the final shape content as well. But here, the final few updates to keep in mind for Season 23, and Bungie have announced that they will slowly be removing legendary shards from the game, and this will begin in Season 23, starting with the removal of legendary shard costs from the Monument to Lost Lights, as well as removing legendary shards from gear focusing. And then beyond that into the final shape, legendary shards will no longer be a thing whatsoever. So it's a pretty significant change and one the community has a lot of feedback on. So let us know what you think below. There are extra changes involved with this process too, so I'll link a video in the description box if you want to catch up on all of the changes associated with legendary shards. But other things we'll see in Season 23 include sandbox adjustments. So firstly, Bungie have said they'll be globally increasing the recoil on SMGs to make it more of a costly trade-off to spec into range over stability. But we'll also see a sniper rifle body shot nerf in the Crucible, with snipers additionally getting a damage buff in PvE. But on top of that for weapons, they'll decrease the kickstart damage bonus on fusion rifles, as well as increasing damage fall-off at longer ranges, with an increase for airborne accuracy on snipers and slug shotguns, and some exotic armor changes, including for Peregrine Greaves, and these will only now grant bonus shoulder charge damage after being airborne for a short time. Plus in PvE, they'll provide significantly more bonus damage and refund melee charges when used against champions, tormentors, and mini-bosses. Plus they've outlined a change for Syntheseps, where they're removing the extra lunge range entirely, and that'll be replaced with an improved weapon handling and reload speed when surrounded. But on top of that, they'll reduce some of the nerf to glaive melee damage as well. So that's one of our first little tasters of sort of sandbox side of things that will change in Season 23. But as always, we can expect to get more info closer to the launch. Now though, we get onto some of the major changes that we're going to see as part of the major expansion launch in 2024. And so, initially right here, the final shape will include new exotics, but also innovative new weapon archetypes. So Bungie have confirmed that we'll see the return of Dragon's Breath, and it looks like in D2 it will take advantage of things like Scorch. But additionally, they've confirmed the return of the Kvostov and the exotic pulse rifle Red Death. So there'll be a strong sort of nostalgia component in the final shape. But on top of that, we're going to see brand new exotic weapons, of course. And some that they've teased but not shown gameplay for include a new trace rifle. And the devs said, what if you could harness the might of the Traveler? And they referenced the beam that the Traveler fired in one of the Lightfall cutscenes as a sort of influence for this trace rifle. So that'll be pretty interesting, and we can see the concept art for it here. Looks like a pretty cool weapon. But additionally, there'll be a new exotic Tex Mechanica sniper rifle. And the devs said, what if Golden Gun was a sniper? Which is certainly interesting right there. A Golden Gun styled sniper could be pretty cool. And so those are just some of the new exotic weapons we'll get access to. And possibly equally as interesting, we'll see new legendary subfamilies of weapons. And some of these will have exotic-like properties. So Chris Proctor from Bungie described a rocket pistol sidearm that fires slow-moving rockets that hit hard and do AoE damage, with a mixture of regular weapon and rocket launcher stats. So that's certainly different. And of course, with us getting a new destination as part of Final Shape, there will be new core destination weapons. And Bungie confirmed that one of those will be a support frame auto rifle, which is a brand new archetype that can switch from dealing damage to enemies to healing allies. So from what we've seen, there will be an interesting set of changes coming for weapons, as well as innovative new archetypes, which will hopefully expand on what weapons are capable of doing, as well as introducing new perks, stats, and capabilities. So there'll be some pretty interesting stuff coming there. Bungie have also outlined their new approach to power in the game, and they've said that a certain number of activities will become power fixed. And that means that player power won't be an influence in all activities in the game. It's most likely going to apply to things like seasonal activities. And they've also said that it will exclude raids and master and legendary modes, as well as contest modes, grandmasters and things like that. And so that's certainly interesting. Power will still have an influence, but it will be much more activity specific than it is right now. They've also said they plan to make it easier for new players to engage in harder activities, and there'll be a new system called Fireteam Power, and the person with the highest power in the team will be able to boost other players closer to their power levels. So this will be a sort of temporary power boost that enables players to get into activities that otherwise they wouldn't be able to play right now. So if you're a player with maxed out power, you'd be able to bring in your friends with lower power levels and boost them for that specific activity, giving players who have less time to invest into power leveling a better chance of completing some of the harder activity content in the game. And a lot of this stuff will tie into Fireteam Finder, which of course is coming before the final shape in Season 23. So a potentially significant change to the investment portion of the game right there. Additionally though, as we've seen, the new destination in Final Shape is going to be a pretty significant shakeup on what we've had in previous releases. And they describe the Pale Heart as a weird new destination that responds to players and is built on the experiences and histories of those who enter it. So they've said that the Witness was the first to arrive here, so some areas are very dark and twisted, kind of into the shape of the world as the Witness sees it, and then other areas are based on Guardian memories, so we see things like the Last City, this gorgeous sort of thriving world, and even the return of the D1 tower, and they say all of these zones are shaped by the ideals of the Guardian player. On top of that though, also interesting is that this will be the first linear destination, as Bungie describe it, so in terms of feel, it will be kind of less open world, I suppose. Not that Destiny is strictly an open world game by any means, but we do have fairly large spaces in a lot of the existing destinations, and it will be more of a sort of path-focused destination with sections that have different purposes and thematic influences. And so they've said we'll start by discovering these more kind of safe and recognizable zones before pushing forward into darker, stranger territory as we unlock it. And of course, we'll experience a lot of the campaign content for Final Shape in this zone, but Bungie have also said the campaign and story will culminate in a fight against the Witness, and they've suggested that this will happen in the raid, but also that beyond the raid completion, an event will take place in the world which calls all Guardians to battle the Witness and essentially finish what the raid starts. And so obviously raiders have that activity to look forward to, but non-raiders can anticipate that once the raid is complete, it'll essentially trigger another set of story events that summons all Guardians to take part and end the Final Shape. So that's going to be really interesting and is something else to look forward to for all players of the game. Otherwise though, we do know that we'll get new supers in the Final Shape, so these will be pretty big in 2024, because as we've seen in previous years, Bungie are likely to update those supers with new aspects and fragments throughout the course of the year, and they've revealed the new Titan super with these kind of wild void blades. And on top of that, there's the new Hunter Arc super and the Warlock Solar variant. So while we won't be getting a new Darkness subclass or damage type, this will certainly be the most significant update to light elements, with brand new supers for the first time in quite a while. And otherwise, for activity content through the course of the year, on top of the new raid for the Final Shape, there will yet again be a dungeon key for 2024. So annual pass owners will get access to 2 new dungeons releasing during the year of Final Shape. And on top of that, Bungie have confirmed that seasons will be replaced with echoes, which is their new way of telling stories, and instead of 4 seasons per year, they say we'll get 3 larger episodes. And as we can see from the roadmap here, they'll contain new exotic quests, activity content, weapons, artifact mods, pass ranks, as well as rewards and armor, but the storytelling component will be pretty significant in this episodic cadence, allowing players to explore the aftermath of the Final Shape in these sort of standalone episodic stories. And Bungie say the storytelling will be deeper, with far more cinematic content included. Plus they'll be delivered in separate acts, so for 6 weeks at a time, we'll go through these sort of different phases of each of the episodes. And they include both story content and activities as well as rewards, so it's going to be a slightly different flow from what we've seen with seasons. And overall, the suggestion is that there won't be less content in the game. If anything, there'll be more content than what we have with season delivery right now. Of course, we'll have to see how that pans out over the course of the next year, but it is a potentially interesting shake-up on the kind of model that we've had over the past few years. So give us your thoughts about that. And for today, guys, those are the major changes that we can expect to see, both in the next sort of 6 months, but also beyond that into 2024, and all of the content that we'll see after the Final Shape expansion. And so let us know what stands out most to you, any of the rewards you're looking forward to, or big system changes for the game. Obviously, the Final Shape will be a very significant moment, so I'm curious to get your thoughts in the comment section. But if you have enjoyed the video today, a rating below really helps us out on the channel. Plus, if you want to see more Destiny content, get subscribed and I'll keep you posted. But otherwise, I appreciate you tuning in, and I hope you guys have an awesome day.